Good morning. Happy Monday, January 3rd, 2022. Happy New Year to you. As previously promised, we're going to get mediocre on this thing. We're going to get mediocre on this B. Still not spiking the coffee yet. We're going to have to work on that. Maybe I need an assistant. Or just a run to the liquor store. All right, let me get into this. We're gonna take a mad plow through the major sporting world. And I promised the professional and the semi-professional ranks. We'll talk a little bit about the college football playoffs. That's going to be it. There's not much to talk about. Form held. For the most part, two inferior teams got dispatched. We'll talk about that at the end, actually. Let's go in the NFL first. AFC, in the American football, as they call it. Titans ended up with the top spot going into the last week. We just got done with week 17. Week 18 is going to come up next week. We'll see if form holds, but the Titans took over the top spot. The Bengals took out the Chiefs on a late field goal as time expired. Joey Burrow, 446. That's after a 5-piece the previous game. Him and Jamar Chase are special. Something's happening there in the Queen City. They clinched the North. The torch has been passed. The Ravens pathetically have lost 5 in a row. They're going down the drain pretty quickly. And it's not all because their quarterback got hurt either. There's problems in Baltimore. Cincy looks like they're going to be a problem. I'm a betting man. That depends on the day. Cincy looks like a good, like something you might want to spread a little cheddar on, for to win the AFC and go to the Super Bowl. Just saying. You want to spread some cheddar on a couple of crackers there? Throw some on Cincy. They are getting hot at the right time, just like the Packers are in the NFC. And that's a big piece of it. And the home field advantage in the AFC is not prohibitive, like it is with the Packers, where you go to Lambeau and it's like minus 30 for the NFC Championship game. The AFC doesn't have anything like that. The Titans are in Nashville. Okay. The Chiefs, it's KC. It's not that cold. So not that good of a home field advantage. I would suggest that Green Bay probably might be the last of the home field advantages that mean anything anymore, quite frankly, in the NFL. On the other end of the playoff spectrum, Vegas Raiders did beat the Colts on the final play, despite a few turnovers. They're finding a way to win. That's championship quality. Kicked the field goal at the gun as well. They are now the number 7 seed of 7. They do have to beat the Chargers after the Chargers dispatch the Broncos in the afternoon games, or in the late afternoon games. They have to beat the Chargers they've been flexed to Sunday Night Football for next week. Win in their end, lose, and they got to pray for some help. And they might still not be able to get in. I won't run the permutations, but it's pretty simple for Vegas. Win in your end. They've won 3 in a row. Let's see if they can make it 4. I like what they're doing. NFC, like I said, the Packers have home field advantage at this point. As long as they win next week, they got it. Them and the Rams have both come in now on 5-game winning streaks. They're hot down the stretch. Rams are starting to be able to play a little bit better defense. Packers look like a cut above, though. You gotta look at them in the NFC. Bucks are number 3. They were able to escape with a win in New York against the Jets. They didn't look too good. So things are not. You don't count out Tom Brady. You never do. You play Tom Brady for 60 minutes, and in a season you play for 17 games now. Don't sleep on him. But there's drama there. Antonio Brown decided all on his lonesome that he would not go back in the game when he was told to by Coach Arians. Career-ending toddler display on the sidelines. Mike Evans tried to stop him. The video's online. Took off his jersey. Even took off his cold gear. Throws into the stands and runs off like a little toddler. This should be the end of his career. I hope it is. He's had enough chances. He did this crap to the Vegas Raiders. He's just a toddler, and it's gotten old. Okay, wide receivers are divas. They just are. But he takes it to a whole other level. Okay, whole other level. I mean, somewhere Chad Ochocinco's sitting there going, he did what? Case closed. He's been given too many chances. He has mental illness issues. I do think he needs to get some help. I do hope he gets some. It's nothing personal. But there are a whole lot of dudes busting their stones to get into the NFL. He's taking a roster spot. Nobody should waste a roster spot on him again. Not after this. NBA. The Eastern Division. Chicago is in the top spot. Billy Donovan looking like a Coach of the Year candidate, is he not? DeMar DeRozan and Levine are getting it done. They're a nice dynamic duo. They've won 7 in a row. Milwaukee's keeping pace with them. They're a game back in 3rd. Nets are 2nd, but Milwaukee's hot though. They're coming on. They've won 6 in a row. With Giannis, you never know. But I like the core nucleus in Chicago, and I like the coach. This is a good group. I like Chicago's chances. I don't think they're punching above their weight at all. I think they're going to continue to play at this level for the rest of the season from what I'm seeing. DeRozan's hitting game-winning shots. There's just a feel about this club that's special. Speaking of special, you go out to the West, and Steph Curry, now the all-time leading three-point specialist or three-point shooter, both. They're leading the West. There's a 4-team race in the West, and then there's everybody else. Yet the Warriors, Suns, Jazz, and the Grizz are all within shouting distance of each other. Everybody else is just phoning it in, just hoping to get into the dance for the last 6 spots. And by the way, the next time the NBA expansion happens, they'll just give out participation trophies. Why have a regular season when 20 of the teams make the playoffs? Can somebody explain it to me? Playoffs? Maybe they'll just start the playoffs at the All-Star game next year. I mean, just simplify things for us, okay? I mean, because you're going to have like 30 rounds of playoffs now because everybody gets a participation trophy. NHL. Exact opposite. That's where the men are. Metropolitan Division, you got Washington, Carolina, the Rangers, and Pittsburgh in the top spots. Carolina's won 4 in a row. Pittsburgh is now coming on with an 8-game winning streak. They're all pretty compacted. That's a pretty competitive division. The Atlantic has Tampa, Florida, and Toronto Maple Leafs all at the top. Central's got St. Louis, Nashville, Minnesota, and Colorado in playoff contention. Minnesota's lost 5 in a row, including their New Year's Day tiff at home in like minus 10 weather outdoors. Try that, load management, sports. NBA. Excuse me. In other news in the Central, Arizona, the Coyotes, they just barely kept their lease payment in Phoenix. They're in serious trouble. They're not drawing any fans. They are a very possible contraction candidate in the NHL. They are at the league worst, 15 points. They're pretty pathetic at this point. They got major organizational problems. That's something to watch as a storyboard as well. Going to the Pacific, you got the Vegas Golden Knights holding serve right now. Anaheim on a 4-game losing streak, number 2. And then you got Calgary, and then you got Edmonton. The Kraken is in the cellar as in their first year. They've lost 5 in a row, but they are better than Arizona and Montreal, the other 2 cellar dwellers across the NHL that are comparable. Kraken's a good bit better than the other 2. Kraken are a decent winning streak away from maybe even contending for a playoff spot out in the Pacific. So they're not buried yet. But those other 2 teams, they're a few fries short of a happy meal in Arizona and Montreal. So we'll move on to the Premier League, European football, British football. We'll go down the top contenders, and we'll leave off the pretenders. So, Man City's won 11 in a row in the Premier League. They've lost 1 or 2 in the Champions League and interspersed. They're sitting at 53 points. They're running away with this thing. They're so deep, they're loaded. And they do have one of the coolest managers in sports, and I'm not even a Man City fan. You know he's full of crap, and you just like him anyway, because he's just got this certain style about him. Jurgen Klopp's the same way in Liverpool. Slightly different, a little bit of a German, Spanish versus German type of thing. But they're both pretty cool guys. So 11 in a row, they're at 53 points. Chelsea's sitting 11 points down, and they have a major problem with their striker, Romelu Lukaku. And that guy, he came from Inter Milan in Serie A, and he comes in. You talk about our wide receivers being divas in the NFL. Well, strikers are divas in the Premier League. And so he's a big diva. He's not happy. He's not playing it much. He gives an Italian Sky Sports, I think it was Sky Sports Italia, I think it was, an interview about 3 weeks ago, and he wasn't playing yet. He was just coming back from COVID and everything, and he was very vague. And then there's how you interpret the Italian back into English, all kinds of issues. But it's just like it's so much drama. They held him out against Liverpool yesterday. They drew 2-2. Huge issues there for Thomas Tuchel. Personally, I would have played him just to show him that you're not causing, that you're not, that there's nothing personal going on, and just handle it behind closed doors. But when you take the guy out of the club, and you set him, you're saying you're making it worse, actually. But we don't know everything, so there you go. It kind of reminds me of the Arsenal problem with Aubameyang, except that Aubameyang is not scoring, and he's a diva, and he's had several chances. This is one time with Lukaku, although he has all the clubs, from what we find out, all the clubs that he's been at, he's had this kind of loose lip type of thing. You ever notice this stuff doesn't happen in Man City or Arsenal? And when it happens at Arsenal, it's handled, and it's handled indoors. So interesting. All right, so Liverpool's third, fresh off that 2-2 draw with Chelsea yesterday. So they're at 41 points. They've been just emaciated with the cough. So they've had a tremendous amount of roster disruption. And while I'm on the subject, it would not be a bad thing, instead of whining about having the problems with players being out, bring up people from your academies. You're one of these big six programs. You should have academies that are producing really good players. Arsenal's done that. They had, I guess the kid's name was Patton, came in and scored a goal a couple games back. You know, you intersperse them where you have to. You just play. That's the way I look at it. All right, so mentioning Arsenal is now sitting at 35 points in fourth. You have to call them an upstart, but the process is working. It really is. Very young. They're the youngest team in the Premier League. Future's very bright. They're at London Colney, where they practice. West Ham, a team with absolutely no stars on it, is fifth, 34 points. Tottenham, under Conte, great manager. He will turn them around. He's got 2 games in hand too, and he's sitting at 33 points. So they got a solid shot at getting in the top 4. Man U sitting at 7th with 31. They've also got 2 games in hand. Ralph Rangnick is undefeated so far, but he hasn't played anybody of note. Very inferior fixtures, and he hasn't overwhelmed anybody. He's like 1-0, 2-1s. Not dispatching these lower teams, like relegation types of teams, with any certainty. And a couple of the wins have been very late. So they're hanging by a thread right now. Certainly hasn't been transformational. But the thing is, when you're an interim coach, everybody knows you're an interim coach. It gives you a problem. The way Man U has done things is not optimal. Giving Rangnick a contract and then a consultancy contract afterwards is a good way of doing it, if you're going to do an interim to get to a full-timer. I don't know. But Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, the guy that had been fired, he was an interim and then retained. So you never know. Rangnick might be the guy, because Pochettino over at PSG in France, he might want to stay there. And it's not like he's won any hardware. So Rangnick might be the answer. You never know. But I think having an interim tag around your neck may as well weigh 50 pounds. See what I'm saying? We'll finish our frolicking romp around the sports world with the college football playoff. It'll be UGA against Alabama at Lucas Oil in Indy on January 10th, 8 p.m. UGA took out Michigan. Michigan just didn't even belong on the field. I mean, they couldn't. They were completely outclassed. I would actually say Michigan was more outclassed than Cincinnati was against Alabama. The issue with Cincinnati, though, is they just didn't have the size up front. They had the skill position players are on a par with what Alabama and Georgia has. So they're building something there, but they don't have the line play on either side of the ball, the offense or the defense, to be able to hang with an Alabama. But they didn't get blown out that bit. What was it, 26-7? They hung with them. They belonged. But they're not at that echelon yet. They're a top 10 program, and I think they'll stay there. I do think they'll stay there. would like to see the CFP expanded. So you've got a couple more wild cards. I'd like to see an 8 or a 12 rather than 4. And see where they go with that. But some of these mid-majors, they're making a run at this thing. And when they get up into here's the thing, is like they're not ready to compete at the highest of highest levels. But the longer that they're up in the spotlight, it helps the recruiting, and they start to pull some of those larger offensive tackles, offensive guards, defensive tackles, nose tackle, etc. Edge rushers. All of a sudden they're there. So they need a seat at the table. It's good for college sports, semi-professional as it is. But I'm all about the competitive balance in things. That's what sports is about. And I think that gets it done. So again, January 10th at 8 p.m. on what I like to call the Every Single Pathetic Nimrod Network, ESPN. You're welcome. So there you are. Wasn't that fun? Hope you have a great week as we have we skid into 2022. Just kind of time right now where you just don't even know if your sport's going to be playing one night to the next. But hang with it. It'll be fun. It's kind of like a slip and slide, but completely different. So anyway, Wednesday we'll see what I get into. Have absolutely no idea. We'll figure something out. But until then, please like, comment, subscribe, hit the ringy-dingy say all, and then spread this video far and wide. Sharing is caring, and I need all the caring that I can get. I will holler at you on a hump day Wednesday. Peace out, me homies. See ya.